Hey, imontheedge here, back again with another brand new video. So today I will be no damaging all the boss fights in Lost Judgment, the new Yakuza game which came out about a month ago. However, this commentary video is coming out now, about like a month later. Why did it take so long to get this video out? Well, many reasons. Now, there was some stuff going on in this fight, but as you can see here, there's not really much health to him, and I can probably explain a lot of the things I did there in, well, much more meaty fights. So, for one, this game's massive. Like, there's a lot of side content, and, well, two, I think the more pressing reason why I didn't get this video out as soon as I wanted to is the boxing style. So this game has some very shady practices with DLC. Like, why did you have to lock a fourth fighting style behind DLC? Like, I mean, I paid 10 extra bucks like to pre-order the game to kind of get a lot of the extra stuff, and it's just like, not only were they locking a fourth fighting style behind DLC, they were also going to release it on October 21st. What, you can't do that. Like, I wanted to release like a no damage video like now, but I had to wait until that much time for the boxing style to come out. However, that's not exactly true. Wait, was it the 21st or was it the 28th they were going to release the boxing style? Well, they said they were going to release it like that day, but then out of nowhere there was an early drop on Xbox. So then for like 2 to 3 days straight, I'm like, why doesn't Sony have an early drop? And then I think after a while, they released it on Sony platforms. Now, another thing is, I was gonna originally play this game on PS4, and that's what I played the trial video on. I actually no damaged all the combat sections in the trial of this game, which came out in Japan, but they had like English subtitles for it. So, you know, I played that. I did a commentary of that on my channel. And now that I have the full game, I started off on PS4. I bought like a digital version for PS4, and I was kind of what was gonna like. Pretty much what was, there's a word for it. What was going to decide whether or not I play this game on PS5 was this one thing Best Buy was doing, where they were only going to allow you to pick up a PS5 if you were there in person at the store. So at like 3 a.m., me, like my bro and a good homie of mine, we went out, we camped out at Best Buy for like 5 to 6 hours straight. I brought a camping chair out. I was prepared for that. And then I got like the third last like disc PS5, and that is why you are seeing Lost Judgment footage at 60 FPS. I was not willing to pay any scalpers. Like, I had quite a bit of money saved up, but I did not want to spend $800. Nah, I'm gonna pay the original price for my disc version of the PS5. The reason I would have to order a disc is because, well, if I order a digital version, I wouldn't be able to play all the PS4 games because, well, probably the best thing about the PS5 is just that you can play all your like disc PS4 games aside from like maybe 3 or 4 titles I don't care about. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to sell my PS4 at some point. The only disadvantage of not having a PS4 is that I can't do remote play with the PS Vita. This game allows you to remote play it on the PS Vita. You could be playing Lost Judgment on like the PS Vita. I mean, I uploaded a video of mine like, oh, Lost Judgment on Switch, though to be fair, that was technically a Vita. It was a very subtle video, so you might not have noticed that I wasn't playing it on Switch. You might have gotten your hopes up that it was on Switch, but it's not on Switch. It was only on Vita through remote play on PS4. On PS5, you cannot do that because apparently, like, the PS5 still has remote play, but it's like on your computer or something like that. I have no idea how to set it up. Like, to be fair, setting up a remote play on the PS Vita was also a pain in the ass. I've probably talked about this before on the channel, but oh, excuse me. Oh, I hope that didn't like get caught by the audio. I was swallowing saliva. So, you know, that's a pretty nasty sound. I don't want it to get caught on the mic. But yeah, like the first time I beat Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 1, it was me like beating the final boss fights on the Vita. So that's how I beat those games for the first time. To be fair, I didn't play the entire game on the Vita, but I beat the final boss fights on the Vita. It's pretty insane. It's definitely a very memorable like moment for me. So yeah, I've not been talking about like Lost Judgment in general at all. So all I can say is my thoughts are so scattered with this game. Like, I don't really know where to start. Well, I will say that this game's combat system is an direct improvement over everything in the first Judgment game, and it's honestly probably the best combat system out of any Yakuza game, period. That is high praise, and it's praise which I think is wholeheartedly deserved, because wow, this game just has so many great ideas, so many like evolutions to like this combat system, like the ideas in Judgment. I mean, to fair, like the first Judgment game has one of the best combat systems in the franchise. It had some jank to it, it had like some awkward things to it, but like overall it was really solid. Oh yeah, one of my biggest worries with Lost Judgment is that the boss fights would be just copy pasted movesets like the first Judgment game, which had very few original fights. Now this game, I mean, to be fair, I think like it also has a lot of copied fights, but I don't think it's as shameless about it as the first Judgment. I think one of the most annoying things about like Judgment 1 is that you would be fighting like these, like these main characters, like these like vital characters to the story. Like, I don't know, I mean, you watch my Judgment video, I'll talk more about that. And then, like, you finally get to fight this dude who was like a bad guy throughout the entire game. They've been building up to this encounter, and then he's just copying the moveset of some dude from Yakuza 5. Like, what? That completely misses the hype. It just kind of kills the moment for me a little bit. This game, however, doesn't do that. If there's like an important character who's like vital to the plot, they will have an original fighting style, and that original fighting style is most of the time is going to be dope. However, this game is also filled with a lot of fights with a lot of characters which don't really matter that much to the story. Like, those guys get to copy movesets. It's just that the issue is that the game is kind of failed with those fights with enemies who copied movesets. So it's either more that this game relies more on group battles, or it's just that it has just less boss fights overall. Though, like the standout fights, which like it does have, we haven't really reached one yet. Like their movesets, like the amount of like tech, the amount of like gameplay stuff going on is like so much more than a lot of like other like previous Yakuza games. To be fair, a lot of the great stuff about these boss fights isn't just the design; it's also the new combat system. So yeah, I mean, I mentioned this is probably the best combat system, and I will say it's better than Zero's, it's better than Ishin's, it's better than what other games that I put like high on the pedestal. Like, to be fair, like I think like the best combat systems have been like Zero's, Ishin, Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise. Like, those games have like the best combat systems, and this game is better than them. Like, it just has so many great ideas. Though before I get to those great ideas, I'm gonna talk about something unrelated. So I'm very glad I'm playing this game on PS5. I mean, the 60 FPS is just absolutely wonderful. Though from the little I played on PS4, it ran better than the original Judgment. So if you only have a PS4, like, don't feel ashamed. Like, pick it up there. It still feels great. Like, it feels better to play than the first Judgment. Like, it's just a lot more responsive, a lot snappier, and that's not just due to frame rate. On 30 FPS, you're gonna feel the difference. And for the most part, it runs better. Though I do hear that there's certain choice sections of the game which do not run well at all. I'll talk about. I mean, to be fair, I'll probably forget about talking about the PS4 once I'm like really late into this video. And oh my god, look at this video! Like, oh my goodness, like an hour 30 minutes now. That's not as long as the first Judgment videos, but it is still quite a beefy video. So we're gonna be here for a while. Okay, so let me talk about the thing which is unrelated to like what I should be talking about, but I still want to talk about it. So on PS4, whenever like you finish a fight, there's kind of a weird delay between when you like end the fight and when the fight does like that transition. You see this whole thing where like the screen kind of like whites out. On PS4, it takes like a second or two for that thing to kick in. While on PS5, that's instantaneous. I was just kind of like, oh, that's a little bit awkward on PS4, but then I played the PS5 version and it's not really there. It just happens immediately. So yeah, there's like no awkward pauses when transitioning in or out of combat on PS5, or when transitioning in and out of detective mode. Yeah, that's another thing. On whenever you do like the detective mode stuff in this game, like on PS4, there was a bit of an awkward pause when you like exit it and when you enter it, while on PS5, that's gone. So this guy here, I don't know if he has an original moveset. That's another thing. I'm having like a harder time, like, trying to learn if like an enemy has an original moveset or not, because it's like, I kind of come up with this conviction like, oh, is this game gonna have copied movesets? Well, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna complain about it. I definitely spent a lot of time complaining about that in my Kiwami rant video, and also just in my Judgment, like whenever I talk about Judgment in general. But now I'm just kind of having trouble like figuring this out, because it's been so long since I played some of the previous games, and just like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely copying the one knife moveset from Yakuza 6. Yakuza 6, the thing about that game is that every single boss fight is original. Wait, yeah, like, even the ones you don't think are original are original. Oh, so here's a neat thing I do. So pretty much, there comes a point where you can't lower a boss fight's health bar, because they need to activate their super mode. So, you know, once they activate their super mode, you know, it's like all swaggy and stuff, but you can't lower their health bar until they're done doing the heat action. So when they're about to enter the super mode, they're kind of paused for a bit, and while they're paused for a bit, you can take advantage of that by pretty much like doing you're like entering into extreme heat mode, doing like the full extreme heat mode combo, and then like you can do a heat action like while they're busy taunting you in their heat mode, and they'll deal huge damage. And for that boss fight in particular, I just immediately defeated them. And here we have our first cool boss fight of the game. It starts in chapter 3, and this guy, oh my goodness, this dude is insane. It's pretty like, in terms of gameplay, he's the perfect rival fight for Yagami. I mean, story-wise, he's also like a pretty great rival. I'll talk more about the story later, but like, yeah, this guy is insane. Also, like, my strategies here are insane. I really wanted to do this thing where I gotta juggle with like I pretty much like juggle this guy, and then I switched to the boxing style. Oh yeah, so for the first couple of fights, I did not have the boxing style, but I finally was able to access the boxing style at this point. So now I'm no damaging this guy with the boxing style. So yeah, I pretty much like do a juggle. Then I switch to the boxing style to do like a light juggle, kind of wanted to show off the boxing style. And then I switch to like crane. I do like, you know, like a 1-2, like, you know, that combo there. And then I hope I leave this guy floating in the air. Now, juggles here are way more consistent than they were in the first Judgment. I mean, they have a little bit of inconsistency sometimes, but you can get a lot more insane with it. Like, look at all that stuff. That's like crazy. And it's so much fun in this game. And this game adds new systems to make the juggling more fun. Like, I really want to talk about those new systems, but I don't know where to start with it. And then, like, you know, while this guy's going down to the ground, whenever, like, you're, like, too close to this guy and he's on the ground and you, like, knocked him down, or you're, like, not attacking him enough, like, I don't know exactly the variables for it, but most of the time he'll do a counter attack while he's, like, trying to get up from the ground. Kind of like how the final boss fight of the first Judgment, he does that. Oh, this guy's, like, counter attack is way faster. But, yeah, I exploit the fact that he's probably going to counter attack by, you know, while he's falling to the ground, I do a taunt with, like, Tiger. And pretty much every time you taunt with, like, Tiger, you can do a heat action, a taunting heat action, kind of like a counter reversal. Now this game makes like each individual style a lot more unique. Like, I don't know, I mean, one issue with like the first Judgment is that Tiger was honestly just way too overpowered, and Crane just did not have that many abilities. This game solves that. Like, I don't know, you have different type of dodge with Crane. Like, I mean, you don't do the same type of dodge you do with Tiger. You do like, and here's another cool ass boss fight. I'm not even done talking about the previous boss fight yet. Okay, so I think the developers kind of like blew their load a little too quickly here, because oh my goodness, this is the coolest set piece in the game. All the rain, like this harsh like orange and like green like color scape, like what is this? This is insane. Okay, so one of the best ways to like kind of do juggles is to kind of much go into crane. So the biggest thing is kind of like, I forgot what they're called. I think they're called like the essence or crane, or like the essence of the tiger, or like the tiger arts or something like that, or crane arts. Pretty much like each style you have, if you do a certain thing, you'll activate like an ability for a short period of time. With Crane, if you dodge an enemy's attack at the right time, your attacks become faster, and this makes the combat just feels so invigorating, because, you know, so this game also introduces a new QTE system. So this game does so many positive things for the Yakuza series. This QTE system is not one of them. Oh my goodness, this sucks ass. And, you know, I mean, maybe it sucks ass because like, it's actually kind of difficult to input these things on the first run through. Like, you pretty much have to memorize these inputs. Like, I mean, this first one isn't too bad, but like, later on it gets devious. Let's just say that. Like, like, I mean, QTEs aren't exactly a great design choice, so Yakuza's always been, like, pretty bearable, and also, like, the little cinematics I play during the QTEs are always, like, punchy and fast, and, you know, they feel like they add to the action. Here, like, those animations are still fast, but, like, now you have to input, like, this whole bunch of, like, weird, just, it doesn't flow. I mean, previously, it's like, you press one button, okay, boom, you land the hit. Well, here it's like, you need it behind this, like, combination of buttons, like, ooh, wow, it's such a pain in the ass. I mean, one thing which helps it is that the button prompts are always going to be the same every single time, so you can just memorize it, and then boom, you're good to go. Kind of like, you know, Yakuza on the PS2, you just have to memorize those QTEs. Though this game's, like, QTEs are more complicated, though once you memorize them, you should be fine, but like, oh my goodness, And also, you can use the D-pad to do, like, that's another thing. The QTEs involve directional inputs. What are you thinking? That's insane. Why would you include directional inputs for QTEs? That's so, but you can use the D-pad, so you don't have to deal with like the fiddliness of like a stick when trying to input certain directions. Oh yeah, so during this fight, one of my homies who does not live close to me at all, he decided to visit, and he actually witnessed me struggle for like 40 to 50 minutes on this fight alone. And it's like, you know, it was definitely a struggle. He was there for it, but, you know, as you can see here in this video, I did succeed. However, what I realized was that this fight does not compare to the very next boss fight that comes. So if I was struggling that hard with this fight alone, oh no, I was going to go through hell in the next fight. And now that next fight, I'll talk about it when I get to it. But yeah, group encounters. So like this, the entire flow of the combat is completely different in Lost Judgment, and for the better. Like, I don't know, I think one thing about Judgment's combat system is that it kind of felt a lot like 5, because you were just kind of like exploiting enemies who just never got off the ground. Like, I mean, you know how in Yakuza 5, I mean, I do it in my video on that game, you can just keep, like as Kiryu, you can just keep spamming like grab combos as enemies are trying to get up. And in Judgment, pretty much the way you kind of like spam boss fights, but pretty much just like doing your tiger combos, breaking their guard as they're trying to get up, and just like doing the same kind of combos over and over and over. And you know, that got complicated when you dealt with groups, but you could honestly just kind of loop that forever in the first Judgment game, and it was really fun. I mean, to be fair, like the only boss fight which didn't allow you to really loop him was let's see here. It was the final boss. Like the final boss did not like being looped, but like every single other boss fight, like for the most part, they just were completely fine being looped from the ground. Now, if you try to pull that crap in this game, like they're gonna like destroy you. And that's another thing. So sometimes in like some of the previous Yakuza games, like in Yakuza 0 or Ishin, maybe Ishin, I forget. Like, you know, when you start a battle, you can just immediately go up to the enemy and punch them and get a free combo in. You cannot do that in this game. Like, you know, once, like, look right now, once this battle starts, if I try to attack the enemy, they're gonna counter. They're ready to attack. They're ferocious. That's what I'm saying. The flow in this game is ferocious. But I'm gonna start off with a juggle combo here. Look at that. You can go up into the air with Crane, do like all these sick things. And yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, with the first Judgment game, I was kind of like, this is kind of like the Dragon Engine's version of like Lost Paradise combat system. You know, you had some light juggles, but I was kind of like, you know, I don't think this combat system's really there yet, you know, the same way which Lost Judgment was there. But now it I don't think Judgment was really there yet, like the same way Lost Paradise was there. Oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that they're called the same. Lost Paradise, Lost Judgment, like, oh my goodness, like, what? Oh my, no wonder this game's combat is so good. Like, so yeah, this fight took me like 2 days to get down. It was horrendous. Like, you know, I mean, I was like hanging out with a lot of cool people, and they were just like, dog, you're taking too long with this fight. Because I was suffering. I was down bad with this fight. It was just horrendous, because like, I love the aggressive vibe of this game. It makes things just way more exciting, and you have tools to deal with the aggressivity, but it makes crowds harder to deal with. And to be fair, crowds were always a difficult thing to deal with. Like the very first Judgment game was overwhelming with those crowds. Like, oh, it just did not stop having crowd fights. And you know, I kind of had an issue with that, because you know, I kind of want to fight a lot of these unique movesets like on their own, you know, one-on-one. But the only time you get to fight some of those unique movesets were in crowds. Now this guy, I believe he also has the knife moveset from Yakuza 6, like the one boss fight, the dude with the red coat. Yeah, wait, does he? No, I don't even think he has that. He just has the generic knife moveset, which I think shows up in Yakuza 6. I don't know if it shows up in any of the previous games, but it's definitely like the like average like knife goon like moveset. Oh, what else do I talk about? Oh man, I'm going crazy here. Yeah, like I just constantly kept getting clipped by enemies. I get clipped by boss fights, and honestly, like the way you approach boss fights can be really dangerous. Like, I mean, most of the time I try to do these juggles, but look at that, the boss fight attacked me. Though, to be fair, I guess right at that point I had like some iframes or something, because he did not land a hit on me. Because, you know, pretty much like the way you want to deal with boss fights is just by juggling them, because that's kind of the way you get free combos. Because you can't really get combos from like exploiting like their getting up animation. Like, you kind of have to earn your combos, and the way to earn your combos is to kind of put the enemies to a juggling state. There's plenty of ways to make enemies like, you know, juggle. You can do like the whole crane like flip thing that makes them juggle. Like, there's honestly a lot of really creative ways to make people juggle. I don't do all of them because, oh my god, you can get really creative with it. But like the most standard way to do it is crane, like, you know, square, triangle, triangle. And, you know, I mean, a lot of the time doing the third triangle also helps, you know, helps like the boss fight get more airtime. And now this is a really neat addition. I like this a lot. So in the first Judgment, like, I mean, boss fights have like these like epic like mortal attacks, which if they land them, they pretty much like do permanent damage to your health bar. Now, I got rid of the permanent damage system in this game, which, you know, I mean, I kind of like the permanent damage system. I mean, to be fair, I guess one advantage of the permanent damage system is that I can make my health bar shorter, so I can make like retries go by faster. Though, I mean, I guess in this game, like, it's not really necessary, but it was a neat system. I kind of liked it. I don't know, like, why they removed it. But, you know, boss fights still have, like, these super attacks, but now you have an... Oh, let me... Before I get to that, in the first Judgment game, the way you would deal with, like, the super attacks boss fights would do is you would either dodge it or you would tiger drop it if you want to get damage on it. But in this game, now they have like this whole mechanic around it called like mortal reversals, where if you dodge like their like mortal attack at the right time, like you'll get this sick little like prompt to do like this cool attack animation. One thing which sucks about this though is that, yeah, you see that this guy's gonna do a big attack. I mean, sometimes if you mess up your dodge, then you won't get the prompt to like pretty much counter attack, which, you know, it's sad. Oh yeah, and also like this game has different like versions of like the same thing for each style, and I think that adds so much personality to this game. Like the tiger drops for each character are different. I even forgot to mention in the Tesso fight, the very first one, I did like the crane tiger drop, which is just like, okay, so like the crane tiger drop just sends enemies straight into a juggle. It's brilliant. Like, you know, okay, how do we make crane have a cool tiger drop? Just make it juggle the enemy. And it's not like the tiger drop, like the tiger's like tiger drop is like pointless or anything. You know, I mean, because like if you do like tiger's version of like the tiger drop, it like puts fear into the enemy. It makes them like anxious. And putting enemies in the anxious states does have like, you know, good effects, because, you know, sometimes they won't attack because they're too scared, kind of how in Yakuza 7, if someone's like afraid of someone, like they won't attack for a few turns. That system returns here. And there's certain heat actions which are like walled off around putting an enemy to a fear state. So you actually like, you know, you could take advantage of that. So if you like tiger drop an enemy and they're scared of you, you can do a heat action, which, you know, you can only do when they're scared of you. It's like, and then Snake. Okay, so Snake is like Tanimura 2.0. Like you have parries, you have like these sick little combos. And I think one of my favorite things about the Snake style is that if you like charge up one of your heavy attacks and land it, it makes the enemy afraid. Now, I don't take advantage of this until way later into the video, but pretty much what that does is that during a juggle combo, you can like charge up your heavy attack, land it, and then you can like put the enemy to a fear state immediately right then and there. Oh, it's just so much good about it. And even the boxing style has its neat little stuff. Like, I don't know, the boxing style doesn't really have the same type of combo system which like the other styles have, like light, heavy, you know, like, and also grabs. It's more like light, heavy, and then like the circle button is not a grab, it's like an additional like finisher to the combo. It's kind of weird to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's a really useful style. The great thing about the boxing style is that so like all the other styles have like these really long elaborate animations, like, you know, like the crane's all kind of like, ooh, it's very flashy. Like Tiger's got like, you know, 1 2 1 2 1 2, and even Snake, it's like boom bam 1 2 1 2. They all got pretty like flashy animations. Boxing, no, it's just straight to the point, punch kick. Like it's very fast. It's very like, it's honestly like one of the best styles to like combo. Look at that, it's immediately comes out, you know, punch. While Crane, it's not exactly immediate, you know, he has to do like this big long kick. And honestly, I mean, this game, like each style is so fast and useful. Like look at these kicks. Like, I mean, these kicks are not as fast as the boxing style. Like the boxing style is just really nice if you want to just get in and just boom, bam, pow. And the boxing style is really useful if you want to set up a juggle and then immediately take advantage of that juggle with Crane. Also, sometimes juggling is a bit inconsistent. Like sometimes you'll try to like do the crane, like the basic crane juggle where you do like square, triangle, and then the boss fight will just have different gravity for some reason. They'll just immediately float down to the ground. Like honestly, that's like the one inconsistent thing about this game. Sometimes boss fights will float straight down to the ground. Sometimes they'll actually stay up in the air for you to like combo them very nicely. So if your crane juggles are being a bit inconsistent, switch to the boxing style and then do a juggle with that. Like most of the time, the boxing juggles do not go down to the ground immediately, especially if you're trying to do like a crane combo. And yeah, I really like the way I ended that previous fight, where I like dodge the attack and I go like whoosh, 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 like the slow-mo punch. I mean, it's a great way to start off my first fight against this guy who we're gonna fight very much multiple times. Now, yeah, here I'm just gonna do something with Crane, where like I do a little Crane thing, then I style switch between each of the styles. That's another thing, another great improvement about this game's combat system. Like in the first Judgment game, if you style switch between combos, there's kind of like a delay. Like you can't do it instantaneously. Like the only way to switch between styles instantaneously in like the first Judgment game is to be in heat mode. Then like your style switching is actually instantaneous. In this game, they sped up that too. Like if you're not in heat mode, you can still switch between styles like super fast. It feels almost immediate, though it's not technically immediate. So like, I mean, in this game, like if you're in extreme heat mode, you also like switch between styles instantaneously, just like the first Judgment. But like when you're switching between styles normally, when you're not in heat mode, it's still fast enough to be satisfying, and like you still have a lot of great uses to it. And it's just like, man, it's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Like You can speed up like your combo speed just by doing crane. I mean, your combo speed is sped up. You can do all these insane combos. And then there's this one thing about with Tiger, which I didn't learn until way later in the game. And to be fair, I didn't take advantage of it. I'll talk about that later, actually. And look at the way I started this little like interactive segment. I did like a quick step attack, like charged up. Like I couldn't really take advantage of those quick step attacks in the first Judgment because it felt kind of clunky to do them. But like here, I felt a little bit more in line to like do them with Tiger. Just like, okay, so honestly, I am so lost. I feel like there's just so many things I haven't mentioned yet, so now I'm just going to talk about some other unrelated stuff. So, in Chapter 3 of this game, there's this cutscene where Tsukumo, is that his name? Like, the nerdy guy. He's explaining this new thing called chatter. So, in certain side quests, like, in order to, like, investigate something, you kind of look up that word in, like, this database of, like, messages. And the cutscene where they introduced this is unskippable. It's in Chapter 3, and it was pretty frustrating to sit through that whole thing because I was doing a replay of the game. Like, come on, man. Like, just let me move on. I don't want to be forced to see this cutscene. And also another thing is that it's a big, like, main story plot point in Lost Judgment that, like, the Tojo clan has disbanded, which, you know, is kind of spoilers for Yakuza 7. So, I don't know, if you haven't played Yakuza 7, then Lost Judgment's just gonna spoil that for you. Like, what? They disbanded? Yeah, they disbanded. And it's a pretty big plot point of, like, this game. So, but thing is, they don't mention this until, like, Chapter 4 in the main story. However, if you do, like, the school story stuff, which is side content, and you do, like, the boxing side, school story, like, that plot point gets brought up before they bring it up in Chapter 4. So it's just, that's kind of neat. Also, Chapter 4 is called Red Knife, which is, like, the name of, like, this arcade gang, like, group. But they don't mention that until, like, way later in the story. Like, they don't officially say, oh yeah, they're called Red Knife. But the chapter is called Red Knife. You know, that feels like such an obvious thing to take note of. Like, oh, the chapter is called Red Knife. Arcade gang. Like, the gang's called Red Knife, right? I did not pick up on that at all. So, like, I'm just saying, like, you know, some plot points might seem like, oh, that's really obvious. No, like, everyone would get that. But I didn't get it. I'm stupid like that. Like, what? How did I not pick up on that? Also, did you see how sick that juggle combo was? Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is, so you can upgrade your attack in this game, and my attack for most of these fights is upgraded at level 2. I'm going to try to keep it at level 2, but there's one fight in particular where I upgraded it, and I'll tell you which fight it is. But yeah, I'm doing attack level 2, and sometimes there's like these two equipment items which lower your attack by 45%. Now, the way this game handles like attack, it's kind of weird when like these equipment things tell you percentages, because like your attack is not valued in percentages, it's valued in straight upgrades, because the way you upgrade your attack is you can upgrade it 6 times. So like I upgraded it 2 times out of 6, because in the first Judgment game you could upgrade it 3 times, and it's just like a direct upgrade to everything. So I upgraded it once in the first Judgment. So in this game I upgraded it twice, so it's kind of like the same way I handled the first Judgment game. It does add like a significant like amount of damage. I mean, it adds a pretty significant amount of damage to it, but it doesn't tell you what percentage you earn when you get those upgrades. So it's just like, oh, my attack gets lowered 45%. What does that mean? How do you quantify that? I mean, like in something like you know, Yakuza 6 or Kiwami 2, you actually can quantify that, because you know your attack is rated. You have like 200 attack. You have this thing right here. When he grabs you, it's like near impossible to break out of it, but I broke out of that by like sheer force of will. And it's like, This fight was very tough, though thankfully I did not suffer on this as hard as I did with that one arcade gang fight where it's just like, you know, in the club and all that. Like, oh my goodness, that fight took me forever, man. Forever. Just like, oh yeah, this fight's awesome, by the way. I love the setting. I love the setup of it. Like, you know, you don't have your phone with you, so you can't use the pause screen. Wait, no. You actually can use the pause screen. I guess they didn't. I mean, in the first Judgment game, during the Amon fight, the Amon steals your phone and pretty much steals your pause screen. Well, in this game, it only steals your ability to use healing items, or like, you know, just your items or change your equipment and all that. It pretty much takes away that ability. I love the way I end this fight. I toss a drink to my boy Kaito, and we drink, like, the music like drops, and then it picks up again. We're about to kick this guy. Boom! Out of here! Just love that. I think this heat action is new, and like I love. That's another thing I love about this game. They redid a lot of the heat action. So like, there was a lot of stuff in the first Judgment game which was like kind of like pretty similar to previous games, like previous Yakuza games in particular. Like the Tiger Drop animation was the exact same as Kiryu's. So it's just like, what? How the hell does Yagami know how to do Kiryu's Tiger Drop? So like they even changed those animations for this game and made them unique to Yagami. There's so much. Look, I love this thing. He's punching her so hard, like boom, get out of here. Like, there's so much I can gush about this game. This might honestly be the best Yakuza game ever. But there's a few things which kind of like dissuade me from like saying that. But then there's so much about this game which encourage me to support that notion. Like, oh my, there's a lot to talk about this game, and I hope I am able to like encapsulate even a minuscule amount of like what I want to say. Like, so this fight, I kind of didn't want to include it, but then I kind of saw this guy has a big health bar. So it's kind of like whatever. Like, it's like this game was a huge struggle. Like I mean, there was a lot of factors deciding, like, you know, whether I would get this video out or not. And one of those factors is just, oh, am I gonna have to wait for the DLC to come out? Another factor was, oh, I'm playing through some of the side content because I needed to upgrade the boxing style and actually get some of those cool boxing style abilities. Because, heaven forbid, I do not want to play with a nerfed boxing style. I mean, and then another thing is just this game is just hard. There were certain fights where I spent like 2-3 days on them, and I'm like, I want to get this video out now, but I could not get it out now, and it's just like, oh, it was very frustrating, like kind of like working through this game, because like, and also another thing is, I'm actually sharing the PS5 with my bro. Like my bro, like he was there on ground zero when we were about to get the like PS5. Like we're in this together. But you know, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I get a little too obsessive. Especially with like Yakuza 7 when that game came out. Like that was kind of like my life and blood for like 3 weeks straight. Also, school. Oh my goodness, my school's getting hard. I got a lot of assignments, a lot of things which I need to get to, and that's getting in the way of things quite a bit. So I can't exactly spend that much time on video games. I'm actually kind of busy with that. So it's just like a lot of factors and all. Like I don't know, sharing the Gromit mug. Also having to share responsibilities with my academics, and I really wanted to land a Tiger Drop there, but I failed, so that's a big shame. I wanted to say something. I kind of forgot what I wanted to say. Hold up. Yeah, I forgot. I'm just gonna drop it. I'm gonna talk about something else. So in chapter 6 of this game, there's like this moment where the game is like, yo, find someone who knows this address. And the game takes away your objective marker for this. There is no objective marker. You pretty much have to find this out on your own. Though, to be fair, it's pretty obvious who knows this address. Because it's like, dude, the principal knows the address of the teacher. So why don't we go talk to him? But they don't put an objective marker on him. So you pretty much have to figure that out on your own. Go to like his office without like much prompting. And then, you know, the game's like, yay, you figured it out. And it gives you like a ton of special points. A ton of like special points. So it's like, yeah, you solved that. You go, detective. Also, with this game, I will say they definitely downplayed the hell out of the detective angle. Now, the tailing missions in the first game suck, and they're still pretty like boring in this game. Though they did quite a few things to improve them. For one, you can do a little bit more to hide from the enemy. You have this ability which is hold down a button to pretty much like kind of blend into the environment. Like use your phone, tie your shoelaces, and that kind of adds a better flow to the tailing stuff. The tailing stuff is also shorter, so that's good. And also, there's a little bit more of a punch to when they notice you. A little bit more punch to stuff. You can kind of stick to cover better and more dynamically, but it's still really lame. So and also there's barely any tailing in the first in like this game. Compared to the first Judgment, which had tailing all the time. Also, this move was one of the most useful things you could do in like the first Judgment, but in this game, it has its uses, but it's definitely downplayed compared to like all the other things you can get up to with this combat system. Like, it just feels like a combat system for people who want to do combos, who want to get crazy, who want to do juggles. Like people who want to get good at this game, you do stuff like this. And okay, this particular like juggle thing I'm doing, pretty much. Get an enemy like juggled with crane, then switch to tiger. You do like square, square, triangle, triangle, quick step, like kind of dodge. Do a dodge attack like forward to kind of keep the enemy like floating. Then continue your combo. Like do the same combo string. Like square, square. Triangle, triangle, and then maybe hold down that last triangle. And maybe you'll land the heavy attack. And what was that? That was insane. Like I kind of I parried the enemy kind of. Then like I started punching them with boxing. Then I switched to crane and did a full combo on their back. Like yo, what is that? That's just insanity. So yeah, Soma is so interesting as a boss fight. He has so many different aspects to him. And oh, excuse me. My throat keeps building up. like there's that whole parry stance he does, like that thing, he just does that randomly, and then like he just enters this parry state, and you could do so many things while he's in the parry state. You can take advantage of it, like, you know, it's something which kind of halts your combat, but it also gives you new opportunities to kind of screw with this guy. You can just like make him attack you, so you could parry him, do it like a parry heat action. You could like, okay, one of my favorite things, you could actually just straight up jump over him while he's like waiting for you to, yeah, like, I think I'm gonna do it right now. I'm just gonna jump over him while he's busy like standing around like a cock, and also while he's doing that stance, you can actually jump off the walls and like grab him easier. Okay, so another thing is this game makes wall attacks not as useful, which I mean is kind of sad, though. To be fair, they could also be a huge crutch in the first game. Like compared to a lot of the stuff you can do in this game, you don't really need to do wall attacks. And also, there's like enemies are just like way less, like they're way more resistant to being grabbed from wall attacks. Like, there have been moments where like I do like a grab attack from the wall, and the enemy just throws me away. That never happened in like the first Judgment. They would dodge you, but they would never just straight up throw you away like garbage. Well, in this game, they do exactly that. And then look at, and also like, oh my goodness, this game, man, this game. I don't know. Oh, I'm gonna enter this stance. Okay, so this heat action I'm gonna do right now is a big pain in the ass. You pretty much have to like grab the enemy, throw them like against a wall, hopefully, and then like spam that triangle button for dear life, and maybe you will input that bloody heat action. It's really inconsistent. And yeah, I love the way I end this fight. I do the heat action, then I do like the crane, like the punching thing, and like the punching thing transitions perfectly to like this little cinematic. Like, yes, dude. Yes, like, okay, so this boss fight is going to get repeated for the finale, and yeah, it's honestly a really great boss fight. Like, there was just so much happening with this guy. There's so many neat things he could do, like with his heat mode, like his attacks are kind of fast and cool. Like, just, like I'm telling you, like this is some of the best like boss design out of like in the entire like in the Yakuza series. Oh, so this guy took me 3 to 4 days. I hate this fight so much. This crowd is obnoxious. Like I'm telling you. Now, the crowds in this game can be obnoxious, so you usually have enough tools to like, you know, actually deal with them in combat. I mean, I don't know, one of my frustrations like Yakuza 6 or Kiwami 2 is that when you're dealing with crowds, man, do you feel limited. I mean, to be fair, I think dealing with crowds is probably more frustrating in like Yakuza 6 or Kiwami 2. Though to be fair, I don't think most boss fights in those games don't really put you in a situation where you're dealing with this many guys, except for like 1 or 2, and they're annoying. Though to be fair, in 6 you kind of had that crutch with the drop kick. Kiwami 2, not so much. But yeah, and also like, okay, so one thing which enemies do in this game like specifically is that they'll just weave out of your attacks, and it doesn't happen so much in this fight. It happens in like another fight. Oh yeah, I love this heat action. I never did it in the first Judgment game because the first Judgment game, I call it Judge Eyes because that's what it was called in Japan. But I guess since they went international with this release, which is really cool, like I got to actually play this game at the same time everyone else was playing this game. You know, like nice. Oh yeah, so here another is that Tesso also has a get-up animation, though instead of exploiting that by doing like a taunt heat action, I exploit it by parrying him when he does a get-up animation. So yeah, another really cool thing you can do is that you can parry an enemy, grab him, chuck him to the ground, and then if they have a get-up attack, parry that attack, do a heat action. This QTE! Oh, this is the most frustrating QTE in the game because he does it like twice, and you know, like, oh, this fight is so frustrating. You know, you get past that first phase and you screw up the QTE, like, makes you wanna, I get mad about it. I get really mad about it. Oh, like this fight is just insane, though. I mean, it's definitely like a lot more going on than like the first Tesso fight, but I prefer the first Tesso fight because the setting in the first Tesso fight is way cooler. Like, you have the rain, you have his kick-ass battle theme, which for some reason they decided not to bring back this time. Now, the battle theme that's playing in this battle, it's called Hydra. It's used for like the basic boss fights. I mean, it's used for the first boss fight I showed off in this video, which was just like, you're fighting some loser who only goes to the gym like, you know, once a week. To be fair, I gotta pick up my gym gains because I have been doing nothing. I've done a couple push-ups. I know sometimes if I get really stuck on a boss fight, like every time I fail it, I'll do 10 push-ups just to like kind of refocus myself, because sometimes when you spend so much time failing, you get lost, you know, you get like drowned, like you can't really think straight. So you gotta, like, you know, you gotta stop, you gotta take a break, you gotta, you know, maybe a 10-minute break, maybe you cook something, you know, maybe go watch something else, maybe like talk with someone for a bit before returning to the game, or do a little workout to kind of, you know, keep your muscles intact, you know, kind of keep like a bit of energy. I like that animation quite a bit. It was also in the first Judgment. Sometimes you kind of get stuck on one enemy while doing like an attack which like rotates a lot, and you just kind of do a little tornado. So that's always really funny. So yeah, like sometimes like, every time I would fail like a no damage type, if I'm like, you know, really deep in like debt and failure, I start working out a bit, just kind of to, you know, you know, I'm not gonna like, you know, spend all this time and do nothing. I'm gonna earn something, you know. I'm getting something out of this. I'm not gonna like, even if I don't succeed today, I will get something for my efforts, you know. And to be fair, one of the things you're gonna get is muscle memory, because oh my goodness, you spend like 7, 8, 9 hours on one fight and you feel like you've learned absolutely nothing, but you are subtly picking up muscle memory to perform every single like little input perfectly. Like with this game, where you're constantly switching between styles, like doing specific combos. And to be fair, none of this is like that complicated. I mean, especially compared to like actual fighting games. Oh my goodness, I played a bit of Tekken in an arcade, sucked ass at it. Like, oh, like I mean, yeah, if you play like actual fighting games, I mean, this isn't too bad. But like, I'm telling you, like, I mean, learning this game, like, it's really fun. But like, I mean, you know, you build like a little nice subtle muscle memory. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. There was something I wanted to talk about. This is a common theme. I keep forgetting what I wanted to say, so I'm just gonna move on and talk about something unrelated. So yeah, this fight isn't really a boss fight per se. However, I kind of wanted to include a fight where you fight all the blue mask people. So you know, here that is. So these are the suicide bullies, and you know, I mean, the reason I call them the suicide bullies is very much plot driven. If you played the game, you know. I mean, I will spoil this game's story eventually, though not right now. I'm too busy talking about gameplay. So, but before I keep talking about game, I'm gonna talk about something else. So, if you die in a random battle, it doesn't let you retry the battle. Instead, when you press like try again, it resets you from like when you first started off in the world. Like what? You could like run across the entire map, fight someone, die to them, and then you'll spawn back to where like the beginning of where you were. Like I hate that. Especially when you're trying to fight like those like golden dudes, and like they made like the golden guys like harder to fight in this game. Like they can have some very nasty, damaging movesets. So you'll die to one of like those golden guys, and you can't immediately refight them. Like you know, your reward is just gone forever. Like I hate that. And also, I really wanted to end this fight in a cool way. I kind of wanted to sync it to the music, but I screwed that up. But I kind of had this little anti-climax with a crane tiger drop. Now I really love that crane tiger drop, but the one thing I would change is make it more punchy, because right now it kind of feels like you did nothing. It just happens. I mean, you know, Tiger's got like the sick heat auras, you know, like even the boxing one, there's like a slight pause when you activate it, and like the crane one, you know, you absolutely parried someone. But with crane, it doesn't really register. So like, you know, it seems like they're not going to do a third Judgment game because they're having issues getting like this actor back. But if they do it, for the crane tiger drop, add more flair to it, add more like punchiness to it, so like you know you actually landed that, because it's kind of hard to keep track that if you landed. You kind of have to like know you're going to succeed. But yeah, so here, this heat action is kind of hard to pull off. You have to stun the enemy. Now, there are multiple ways to stun the enemies. One of those ways is to pretty much kind of do some quick step attacks with Snake, kind of, you know, forward triangle, kind of land that, make sure you don't get hit in the process of doing all that, and then you'll get them stunned after like 4 or 5, you know, little sessions of those hits, and you know that lets you do like that heat action with Tiger, and it doesn't really deal that much damage, so it's not that worth it. Another way to like kind of stun enemies for a bit is if you perfectly time a certain counter with the boxing style, though. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do, so I don't do it. And like my strategy for this fight, I think, is pretty airtight. Like, I mean, I start the fight off, you know, I want to do that one heat action with Tiger. We do the kicks, which is copied from Akiyama. Now, I mean, yeah, this game has way less copied stuff, and I love it for that. Though it brings back that move from Akiyama. And to be fair, I really love that move, so, you know, I'm kind of glad it's back. And then afterwards, I try to land a combo with like a heavy charge attack with like Snake to get the enemy afraid, so I can do that sick ass heat action with Tiger. Now the way you would do that heat action in the first Judgment game is you need to have like your heat bar like fully like full to land it, and you can just land it whenever you feel like it. While here there's actually a condition to land it. You have to get the enemy afraid. I really love that change. I think it's really great. And also like that heat action, you could originally do it with both Crane and Tiger in the first Judgment game, but now it's only restricted to Tiger. And I kind of like that, you know, it adds some flair to each style. And now here I'm just kind of struggling for my life because this guy is hard to juggle, because like most of the time he's in super armor like, you know, 80% of the time. So I'm just really struggling with that. Now I think I'm going to do something pretty sick. Oh yeah, so Kung Fu. I mentioned Kung Fu once before in my videos. He was the guy who actually gifted me DLC for Yakuza 7. So watch my Yakuza 7 video for like more details on him. But he told me that there was a specific heat action you can do with a Snake style, which is unique only to this boss fight. Like this animation you can only do with this boss fight, so you know I just had to end this fight with that animation. So yeah, that was for Kung Fu the homie. Also Adachi, that's very true. So this fight's kind of whatever, so I guess I won't talk that much about it. There was something else I wanted to bring up, but oh yeah, so in order to unlock that one like heat action for like, you know, the unique like heat action where I kind of threw the guy's baton away, I had to play a lot of baseball. Because pretty much the way you unlock that ability is through a skill book, which you can only get by playing a lot of baseball. So you can earn points to buy one of the baseball prizes, which is that book. So it was like, man, come on. But, you know, it wasn't too bad, but it was kind of like, oh, this is going to be a pain, isn't it? It wasn't too much of a pain because I don't know, the baseball minigame was pretty easy. I kind of had the blue bat, which is like the medium of like difficulty. You can kind of choose like your difficulty mode with like the batting minigame by choosing what bat you want to use. And also, I'm really glad that they took like the batting minigame from like Yakuza 5, which was unique to Shinada, and then just kind of made it the standard batting minigame in the Dragon Engine, because it is much better than what they had originally. It's a lot more fun. So I'm glad they have it still to this day. It's really fun. And also kind of like all the little effects they add on the ball and all that. Like they really, like, I think, honed a nice little, like, humble, like, fun little batting minigame. Yeah. I'm going to talk about more unrelated stuff. Hold up. Oh my god, so like another thing which I just absolutely adore about this game is that they give you a skateboard. And, you know, I mean, one of the great things that in the first Judgment game, you could ride a skateboard in a single QTE segment. It was pretty much just like automated, like it was just practically a cutscene. While here you can just pull out a skateboard and just ride it whenever you feel like it. One, that's a great improvement from the first game. Two, you finally have a fast way to traverse the world, which isn't just taking taxis. Like, I've been dying for something like this, you know, like a mode of traversal which is faster than just running everywhere. I've been dying for something like this, and it's finally here. Now, I hear that if you like 100% Kenzen, you get like a way to do that as well, but you know, it hasn't shown up in a Yakuza game like ever. Like, I'm just like, I mean, it's pretty shallow. I mean, the skating minigame also connects to this like kind of Tony Hawk ripoff type thing, which is pretty shallow, but it's also fun. Like, I'm telling you, just like I'm just so glad that we have a fast way to traverse the world. It's just like, it makes moving around a lot more fun. You don't have to constantly take taxis everywhere. You can like get somewhere in a very quick set of time, but still like kind of go through the whole world, kind of see the sights and sounds. Like, oh, I just love it so much, and I don't know how to like elaborate on why I love it so much beyond that. Like, okay, I'm actually talking a little angry. I'm just talking like kind of exciting. I'm trying to stress a point, but I might be stressing anger. It's like, I'm not angry about this. I love this. I just love that skateboarding stuff. Oh yeah, the reason I bring up the skateboarding is that if you're running around the city with a partner, you can't ride your skateboard. Now, the skateboarding thing has some limits. You can't ride it in like populated like kind of street areas, like, you know, I don't know how to clarify. You can only really ride the skateboard on the streets. If you're not on the streets, you can't ride the skateboard. The game doesn't let you. And if you're with a partner, like if you're going around the city with Kaito for like a story mission or whatever, you can't ride the skateboard. Which is like, aw, I want to ride the skateboard, man. Like, come on. Also, for this level in particular, there's actually a save point before this section. And yeah, this is exactly the same location from Yakuza 7. Like, one of the dungeons in Yakuza 7, this is like that exact location. So that has come back. But yeah, they have a save point here. You know what's funny is that Yakuza 7 is the one which I'd expect to have a save point here. But no, Lost Judgment has a save point here. 7 did not. Like, 7 had a healing station like before this area, but it did not have a save point, which is like, it's so weird. Because 7 was the one to kind of introduce that little concept, but it didn't have it in this level in particular. But Lost Judgment, oh no, it does have the save point, so it's just like, Lost Judgment's a little bit more forgiving than like 7. I mean, I guess in terms of save points. I mean, this is a combat game, 7's a turn-based RPG game, yada yada, blah 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 blah. I mean, I keep saying that this game has the best combat system, but to be fair, I mean, I've talked a lot of shit about the Dragon Engine, and I think I've been warranted in talking a lot of shit about the Dragon Engine because it had a lot of issues, especially with Yakuza 6, Kiwami 2, even like the first Judgment. But I feel like they've been 95% all honed out in this game. This game flows so nicely. It is absolutely on par with the original engine. In fact, it's better than the original engine at this point, with all the juggles you can do, like all the complexities to the combat system. Like, it feels like a fun arcadey action game again. I love that. I love that so much. Like, I mean, the physics stuff just doesn't even feel bad anymore. It feels nice. It feels fluid. It feels like, I mean, like all that extra like impact which like these games wanted with the Dragon Engine, like it's here with none of the issues from the previous games. I love it. I love it to bits. Like, finally, like the Dragon Engine is on par with the original games. Now, I still don't think the Dragon Engine can handle swordplay combat that well. And to be fair, I mean, one thing about Judgment is that it does not really rely on weapons much because, well, you have a lot of other things. Like, you have the axe tracks, which I never use in these videos because like those things are like super OP and they give you like a ton of insane stuff, but I would like to play around with them because there's a lot of cool stuff. Like, there's one which gives you like witch time, which, you know, if you played Bayonetta, witch time is pretty much when you dodge an attack, you pretty much just enter slow motion and you get to like do some combos. There's an axe track which does that. Like, that's insane ass stuff like that is there, but I'm not going to use it because it kind of breaks the game, I think. So I don't know. I mean, there's probably like a fun video to be made just by using the extracts, and I'm sure maybe some of my no damage compadres are like working on that stuff. Believe me. Oh my goodness, like this video, like Pius Lee has helped me out so much. Like I mean, his no damage of like this game, just couldn't really do this video without him. And now this fight, I'm gonna start off with a cheeky taunt. Like I'm telling you, these boss fights attack immediately. The fight just started and they're immediately boom, just like that. So when I first played this fight, I was kind of like, this is a little lame because, you know, like we're back in the same area, but there's no rain. But now I'm just kind of like, what was I thinking? Are you hearing this music? This is brilliant. Oh man. And also, like, I mean, this dude's, like, combat style gets, like, evolved. He's way more fast. And, like, I mean, he has, like, he, like, steals some of your moves, like a proper rival fight has to do. Like, he steals, like, this, the most frustrating move this guy does is, like, with Snake. He steals, like a Snake, like, shoulder bash, which you can do. It's, like, it comes out really fast, and you can't really, like, prepare for it. Or, like, I don't know. There's just one thing this guy could do is that he enters like a parry state, just like you can. Like I'm telling you, a cool ass rival fight. I'm telling you, this is such a cool thing. And okay, see the gravity there was being a little inconsistent. Whenever he does that, it's kind of RNG because most of the time you can dodge it and get like a perfect like kind of dodge out of it. But if he does the Snake shoulder bash after parrying you, you're just screwed. You're gonna get hit, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you can't really predict when he's going to do like a parry, especially when you're trying to be like super duper aggressive. Oh yeah, and then once you reach this point, I'm going to try to get him afraid, and I'm going to cancel out like his little attack there with this, yo. I'm telling you. Like, I mean, one thing about Yakuza combat is just perfect routing everything with like, you know, heat action, so you don't repeat the same heat action over and over again. Now, in some of my previous videos, I did tend to repeat heat actions a lot of the time, though. In my new content, I tried to avoid that, though, you know, certain games align themselves to repeating stuff just fine. But for this one, like, there's just so much style. Like, like, and then when he enters the parry state, I mean, it's kind of like Soma, where like you can take advantage of him when he's in the parry state, but this guy's like parry state lasts way less than like Soma's, so you kind of have to be very quick on the draw. Like if he does that and he does the Snake shoulder bash, you can't shoulder bash. Like that move right there, if he does that immediately after parrying you, you're just screwed. So like that's like the big RNG thing about this fight. And also if like his gravity starts screwing up and you're trying to like juggle him, that's also another RNG thing. Like I'm telling you, like I mean these combos might look insane, but you can get even more insane with it. And to be fair, I think with some of my future fights, I do get more insane with it. Like you know, there's like something I want to talk about with the narrative, but like this game has so much going for you with its systems, its gameplay, like what it changed from the first game. Like, I'm just so excited. Like I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I haven't even like scratched the surface of this game. I'm telling you, like this is definitely my game of the year so far. To be fair, I haven't really played that many games from this year, but like I'm telling you, I love this game. I really do like this game. Like, but I'm really mixed on like on how much I love this game. Though before I keep telling you about that, I'm gonna talk about something else. So this game has this neat little thing in the world where like there's like these squirrels like around the world, like kind of these squirrel drawings, and pretty much they'll have like this like visual cue to tell you to use one of your detective tools. Like, I hope you didn't hear that. So one of your detective tools, and your detective tools can be like a whole range of stuff. Look how sick this finish is. The knee, like I mean, that was such a risky thing to do. I could have gotten clipped easily. I could have gotten parried, I could have gotten like punch first, but nah, he decided to be nice and let me land my knee first, and it was such a cool way to finish off the fight. Love that. Okay, one thing I don't like about this game is how many times you fight arcade members, because every time you see that you're fighting an arcade member, you just know you're gonna fight him like a reused like moveset, and like there's 10 of these fights. Hell, there's probably like 1 or 2 I didn't include because they weren't really that important, but like look how many arcade member fights there are. Like it's bloated with arcade members, and every time you fight an arcade member, it's a reused moveset. Dude, fair, like none of these guys are very important. Like they're all very like, you know, like the kind of the muscle of like any main antagonist or whatnot. So like, these are not important people, so they don't exactly need original movesets, but these non-important people take up most of the boss fights in this game, and like the only original boss fights get repeated like 3 or 4 times each. Like I mean, to be fair, that's not a new thing with Yakuza, but you know, like, there aren't really that many like original boss fights in this game. The ones that are here are all like really cool, really fun to fight. Like I mean, let me think about it. Kuwana, awesome. Akutsu, I mean, yeah, he's always with the crowd, but even like his own like original moveset's pretty cool. It's just a shame that he's always with the crowd. Okay, so these 2 guys. So I think one time when I was criticizing like the Dragon Engine, I said that I could not imagine fighting Mine in the Dragon Engine and it being fun. Well, right now one of these guys is exactly copying Mine's moveset, and another of these guys is copying Hamazaki's moveset. Now Hamazaki's moveset was a pain in the ass. ass to deal with in Yakuza 3. Oh my goodness, I hated fighting that guy in like the survival mode. Like that dude has like the worst moveset. It's like the worst part of like Kanda's moveset in that game, and like some other stuff, like just putrid to fight. So now in this game, they're a pain in the ass to fight, but your combat system is like so varied that you can kind of just like dodge around them, get like a speed boost, juggle them to death, and then you'll be just fine. And anything annoying with their combat system, you know, you don't really have to fully engage with it. I mean, that's one thing. I guess this combat system kind of makes most of the boss fights like kind of feel the same, because you kind of can tackle them in the same way a lot of the time. You can kind of dodge behind them and then kind of start up a juggle thing. Though, I mean, to be fair, they all have like their little different quirks and all that. This guy loves to grab a lot. He loves to grab. I love this intro. Look, this game looks beautiful a lot of the time. Like, oh my goodness, like I love how like Yakuza 7, like it was kind of like downgraded visually, but like this game brings back the graphics. And to be fair, I mean, these games are never really going to be the most graphically impressive. I mean, not compared to like the most AAA stuff. Like they look pretty cool, I think. Like I love this setting in particular, like the club. I love the lights. I love the characters. It's like, and I love like animations happening in this club. I love that, and I love this intro. Like the way like the intro, like the music starts up when like the big guy here, Akutsu, like just puts his foot on the table, like when the beat drops at that point, like the beat starts to drop at that point. Also, you may have not noticed or might have noticed, but I did not do this fight on my first attempt. Because in order to get to this fight, you kind of have to do this whole thing with Sayori, like kind of the whole hostess thing all over again. And well, that's one thing I don't like. I don't like how they treat, I forgot the guy's name, Hoshino. I don't like, they treat his character really badly in this game. They kind of make him like a bit of an idiot, when he really was not that in the first game. So it's just like, they do it for like a cheap thing, which is like, oh, we need to make Sayori, like, you know, have more confidence in herself. But I guess one of the only ways they found to like enforce that is to make Hoshino like a complete idiot. Like it's just so out of left field and like not well handled. Like there was plenty of other ways to like go about it, which is better than what they did in this game. So yeah, I don't really like Hoshino in this game. They did him really dirty. This character could have actually gone somewhere from like the first game. You know, he was a neat little support character in like 1, but here he's kind of a dick sometimes, like like out of character. That they kind of flanderized him in this game. And you know, also they kind of flanderized what's his name, Higashi? I don't think flanderization is exactly the term. It's just more they don't do anything with him. He's pretty much an extended cameo, more or less. Like, he's not really a bit player in the story at all, which is kind of weird because he was such like an important character in the first game. Like he had this cool backstory. I mean, he had character to him. While here, he's just kind of here because you know he's cool, and he is cool. But like, you know. So, okay, let me see what else I have on my outline. Like, sometimes I just kind of talk off the gun, and sometimes I talk about stuff in the outline. So, oh yeah, I want to talk about those squirrels. So, back to the squirrels. So, sometimes with these squirrel drawings around the world, they'll have like a visual indicator of, you know, what to do. You know, like use one of your detective tools. You have like a microphone, you have like this detector thing for metal, you have a dog, you know, cool dog. And you have your drone. Now, I thought you couldn't fly your drone because I went through this entire like first playthrough never using the drone because like the story never forces you to use the drone. However, you can. You actually can use the drone. Because like the reason I found out about this is because one of the squirrels, you can only access that squirrel if you use it. If you can only access one of the squirrels, like you know, puzzles, is by using the drone. That's pretty much how I figured it out. But like before then, I just straight up thought you could never use a drone, but you can. It's just that the game never forces you to do it in the main story. And it's only really relegated to side content, which I didn't do yet. So it's just kind of like I pretty much missed out on like a big part of gameplay. Because I mean, I remember like the first Judgment, I remember those drones. I mean, you had to use them sometimes for the story. And also, I will say this game's pacing, I definitely say, is probably better than Judgment. I mean, or maybe it's not exactly pacing, but oh my god, like the first chapter of Judgment was like insanely massive. This game, not so much. Like, I mean, these chapters got some nice meat to them, but they never get as insane as that first chapter of like Judgment. Like, I mean, compare a speedrun of like Judgment 1 and this game, like Lost Judgment, and you'll see exactly what I mean. And well, to be fair, this video is also shorter than the first Judgment. To be fair, I enjoy a lot of the fights in this game a lot more than I enjoy the fights in like that first Judgment game, because while a lot of these are original, like they're hype, you're fighting like an actual person. You're not just fighting some dude copying another dude. Ooh, like But to be fair, I mean, yeah. So one other thing about the squirrels is that you can't exactly do their puzzle until you zoom in on them and like confirm that you're looking at it. You can't just like see it in the world and then do the puzzle. Like, it's not that organic. You have to actually like kind of go into like your investigative mode, like zoom in on it and then click on it, or else you can't do the puzzle. And like I was so stuck on certain puzzles because I didn't do that first step, and that kind of pisses me off. It kind of like makes things too rigid, I think. So it's like, Also, yeah, this game can be really hand-holdy. Okay, so it doesn't have so much tailing, but it kind of replaces it with its new stealth system, which is really bare bones and bad, frankly. Like, oh, look at that. I mean, I went up into the air. This dude, like, hit me, but, like, I blocked it, so I kind of, like... There is a possibility where you could, like, there's, like, a certain heat action where if you get knocked down on the ground, you can do a heat action. Though most of the time, the way you get knocked down on the ground is by getting hit. Though there is actually a way to get knocked down on the ground and not take any damage. In fact, for one of these boss fights, it actually happened for me, but then I failed the attempt, and I felt really sad. Because it was so cool to land that heat action without actually taking any damage. But, you know... It's pretty inconsistent to actually like do it. There's like no real way to like consistently like get knocked down to like the ground without getting hit, you know, like So yeah, the stealth in this game, it's really hand-holdy. You kind of just go into a wall, you throw a coin to distract the enemy, you knock them out, and that's it. Like, you know, it's easy, it's simple, and it's just kind of boring. It's like, you know, it's not as bad as the tailing missions, because at least with, like, the stealth stuff, you can kind of just go at it at your own pace, so you can kind of just rush the hell out of it. While with tailing, you couldn't really rush it. You pretty much have to, like, go at the game's pace. But, you know, it's, like, really hand-holdy on the rails, like, you know, pretty, like, mediocre stealth. Like, you know, pretty lame, pretty... Like, the only time the stuff is, like, somewhat interesting is in the gauntlet. Oh, yeah, this game has a gauntlet, and it's, like, pretty much... Oh, so, like, these Yakuza games have not had, like, an ultimate battle system since, like, freaking... since, like, Kiwami 1. Like, ever since they hit 6, they completely axed it, and I was so sad about that. The ultimate battles were, like, some of my favorite things in these games. Because, I mean, okay, like, the normal challenges, like, were pretty stupid, but, like, when you got to fight those, like, boss rushes, like, oh, it was a rush, you feel me? And they bring those back kind of in this game. Like, how you could fight the Amon in, like, the boss rush mode, which is, like, you know, yo, what? Like, it's insane. Like, I mean... It's honestly like one of the best ones in the series. Like, it's just like all the little activities you do are like pretty fun for the most part. And one of those activities is like an optional stealth mission. Now this is like the one time where the stealth is actually kind of difficult. Though when I say kind of difficult, I mean like you remember that one time you did some stealth in like Ocarina of Time? Well, it's like a slightly harder version of that. So, you know, I mean, it's really simple. It's really like, you know, bare bones. But hey, at least like the game is like, you know, this is like the one time the game takes off like the hand holding wheels. And well, to be fair, I mean, like the stealth system is like so simple that I feel like if you experiment with it in any way, it just completely breaks. So like, the game really like hand holds you. So like you never like fuck up so that the system breaks, because they do not want that system breaking. You feel me? Like, oh my goodness, they do not want you seeing the cracks in their system. But yeah, it just kind of feels like a time waster. And like, I don't know, one thing which kind of makes it hurt more is that there's like barely any long battles in this game. And honestly, like the long battles which are here are kind of disappointing. That's the one thing. Like, I am so tempted to say this is the best Yakuza game, but like one of the things I don't think it handles well are the long battles. And it's like, I don't know, I feel for like a Yakuza game to be the best, it needs to have some killer long battles, you know? And I don't think this game can really compete in that realm. Like, I don't think its long battles are that good. I mean, the final one has these, like, amazing sections, but then it has these stupid sections where, like, it slows down the gameplay pacing to a halt. Hey, look at this thing. Okay, then do some, like, basic-ass Assassin's Creed, like, parkour climbing stuff. Like, the climbing stuff wastes too much time, and it's honestly all very easy. It's all automated. And, like, the thing is, like, it has some stuff which, like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then they're still teaching you that stuff in, like, Chapter 12. Like, yeah, the game was telling me to shimmy, how to shimmy down a pipe in Chapter 12. And the game that's, like, 13 chapters long. Or you can, why are you telling me this at this exact point? Also, I have a question. Is this guy's moveset original? I don't know. It kind of looks original to me. I haven't really seen this, like, kind of bat moveset before with all these, like, kind of weird moves he does. Though I might be forgetting something. Like, you know, tell me about this, because I'm actually pretty interested. Is this an original moveset? I mean, like, this guy is kind of like a nobody, so it'd be funny if he has an original moveset. Maybe they're, like, testing this type of moveset out for, like, another character. I don't know, but, like, what's going on with this guy? You know, feel free to tell me. So, also, like, I mean, I'm gonna get back to, like, the stealth. You can't leave cover until you throw the coin, and you can't throw the coin unless the enemy will be distracted by it. Like, it's that kind of hand-holding. Like, you can't, it's not really free-form at all. It's all very rigid, all very, like, to the point. If you have to do it this way, or the highway. Oh yeah, so here's a cool little like snake counter. Nice. I mean, this one isn't original to this boss fight. I mean, you do this against every enemy which has a bat. Like what was cool about like the boss fight in chapter 10, like the very first one, is that heat action was original to that fight specifically. You know, so yeah. Like I'm telling you, like Ubisoft games have better stuff than this, and like a lot of people talk shit about the stealth in Ubisoft games. To be fair, I mean it's warranted, but I've had some fun with even the most shallow stuff, like the very first Watch Dogs games, even though it was pretty shallow. But you know, I had my fun with it. So yeah, like all I'm saying, to be fair, this is pretty much just like a single mini game in a game that's like mostly combat. So that's the thing. I mean, like it's not like the stuff that's here that's like kind of annoying is not as annoying as the stuff that was in the first Judgment game. You know, like the sneaking and all that. Though I do kind of miss the thematic relevance of it. It does not feel as thematically important in this game as it did in the first Judgment. I mean, the first Judgment, you're like picking locks, you're cracking safes. In this game, you barely do that. You don't do that like most of the time at all. Well, in the first Judgment, that felt like a very prominent thing. While here, you barely do it. It's like, oh, come on, man. So I'm going to move on to something completely different. So Yokohama is actually better designed to skateboard around than Kamurocho is. And to be fair, you spend a lot of this game in Yokohama. So yeah, I mean, you spend a lot of fun time skateboarding. So yeah. Oh, so for this fight in particular, I got an upgrade called the Tiger Art. So for pretty much like the entire game until this point, I avoided the Tiger Drops upgrade, like the Tiger Arts upgrade, because pretty much like the description of it kind of like made me like never get it. Because what it said is if you like land a charged like heavy attack with the Tiger style, your attack increases. Though I've seen some people use this ability and like that their attack increases like insanely hard, and I did not want my attack to be that high for some of these boss fights. But then I was told by Pius Lee and some of my other no damage compatriots that the ability has that ability has a hidden ability where pretty much if you upgrade like the Tiger Arts like all the way, yeah, your attack will become a little bit insane, but every time you land a heavy attack, it resets like the special effect of all the other styles, which means you could reset like your like speed upgrade over and over with the Tiger style. And you can honestly like do infinite combos, like infinite juggle type combos. Like Pius Lee does it in like his Amon video, and like I mean, in some of my failed no damage attempts with the final boss of this game, I did it too. Like it's insane because you can keep the, like that same like increased speed going over and over as long as you consistently like land a heavy like charged attack with like a heavy charged attack with Tiger. And I think even like a charged like quick step attack also does the job. I think even like a fully like charged flux fixture also does the job. So it's just like that's like, look at that, like that's such a great, fascinating like new thing to add to the flow of combat. Like this game is filled with so many great ideas. It executes perfectly in terms of combat system and flow. Like I'm telling you, this game's combat system is just it's so good. It brings us the styles from Zero, but like each style is so like nice and cool. Like I don't know, some of the styles in like Zero could kind of feel like gimmicks, and I kind of didn't mind this because it kind of fit into like the larger like, you know, big combat system. You know, I mean, if one style couldn't do one thing, you could just rely on another style. But like here, like each style is just so nice. It's so nice. You feel me? Like it's like this boss fight sucks though. In this game, since the combat is so good, even a boss fight that sucks doesn't suck as hard as it did in like Kiwami 2. Like in Kiwami 2, this exact moveset was so much worse to deal with. I mean, it still was annoying to deal with in this game, but you have so many more tools to deal with this guy. And how they even gave him some like extra moves which are easy to dodge. You can get like a nice little like speed upgrade from it. Like, you know, I'm telling you, this game just considers so much about its system and designs. Like, it just it's so good. It is so good, I'm telling you. And I'm just appalled by that skill up like review of the game, which pretty much kind of like trashed it, just kind of saying like, yeah, it's good, but it does like the things which are like the skill up review is just like this infamous review of like Lost Judgment where like this dude just talks shit about the game, and a lot of things he says just kind of sounds like he hasn't played the game. And okay, one thing I always notice with like bad reviews of the Yakuza series is that they just completely ignore the combat system. Like if you're seeing like a review of, like Yakuza, and like the person like doing the review just says, oh yeah, the Yakuza combat system is quite simple, but it has a very fun, rough feel to it. It's a bit clunky, but you know, it's fun. It's like rough. You just kind of discredit the video at this point because they don't know what they're talking about. Like if they like ignore the complexities you can do with Yakuza, especially with this game, if they just go, oh yeah, it's fun, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, like they are talking out of their ass, believe me. And to be fair, I mean I don't think they do that intentionally. I mean, sometimes people just aren't as engaged with the combat system as, you know, someone like me who's trying to do no damage. And to be fair, this game's damage scaling isn't the best because I mean, I'm not fully upgrade. Okay, to be fair, for this fight in particular, I actually upgraded my attack all the way to 5 because fuck this fight. Oh my goodness, I hate this fight. The main guy in the hoodie is copying like Pipe Kuze's moveset from Yakuza 0, but he's even worse here. I saw his attacks come out faster. He has even more armor than he did in 0. Like, this is like the one time where they copy a moveset into this game and it actually feels worse to play against. To be fair, one thing which makes it worse to play against is like, yeah, this huge ass crowd like fucking with you, and then you have fucking Pipe Kuze coming in behind you from across the screen. Like, okay, one thing which I don't like about this game is the camera. To be fair, like Yakuza games always kind of have a bit of an issue with the camera. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't always do the job, and yeah, this is one of those moments it didn't really do the job. Sometimes it just can screw you over. Like, But yeah, that skill up review is just embarrassing. And yeah, they went, oh yeah, the combat system, you know, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And then it says things like, oh yes, there's a lot of really great stuff to do in the open world, but you know, that was all stuff which like the previous Yakuza games do really well. Like, there's like this one thing which I think like people have like a bit of a hang up with like Judgment and Lost Judgment by proxy, where you know, they like those games advertise themselves as like unique experiences from Yakuza, and they pretty much just ended up being Yakuza clones. To be fair, they're Yakuza clones which do the Yakuza stick way better than like most of the Yakuza games coming around that time period. But you know, people kind of got hung up like, hey, why is this new detective stuff so garbage, but like the stuff that's good about Yakuza is still here? This game sucks because of that, and it's always so stupid. It's like they completely ignore that just how much of an improvement this game is in the aspects which are traditionally Yakuza. It's like such. It's like the exact Yakuza sequel I wanted. I didn't want like a Yakuza 6 style sequel. I wanted Judgment. I wanted Lost Judgment. You know, and people just like ignore that completely. I didn't want a Kiwami 2 like sequel. I wanted something more in this vein. And to be fair, I think the reason we've gotten to this point with a game as good as this is because of the failures with like, you know, Yakuza 6, Kiwami 2. I mean, like, the thing with the Yakuza series is that even if a game is fucking up in one game, you know, in the next game they're gonna fix it. They're gonna do something completely swag in the new game. And also another thing which I didn't like about that skill up review is that I don't think the story in this game is that good. I mean, like, I'm starting to appreciate it more like after the fact, but while I was playing it, I was just kind of like, I like the story of the first game quite a bit more, and I still do like the story of the first game quite a bit more. Like, the main villain, Kuwana, he has a really interesting thing, though. I think the way he's presented and like some of his motivations, I couldn't really take seriously at first, because like the dude is killing kids, and he kind of like waxed poetically about it, like, you know, it's my destiny, I have to go back and do this. And the thing he's talking about is killing more kids. He's like having these philosophical like arguments with like Yagami, I have to kill more kids. And Yagami's like, you shouldn't do that, man. He's like, you don't understand, I have to kill more kids. I'm highly simplifying it. Honestly, I mean, I think one thing which kind of makes me appreciate it is that, honestly, the relationship which Yagami and Kuwana have is kind of the same relationship which Daredevil and the Punisher have in the Netflix series. Now, the Daredevil Netflix series, I love that show. So honestly, when I started thinking about it in like those veins, it kind of like, you know, I mean, it's like a little goofy, but it's honestly a pretty engaging like morality thing. It's like kind of the parallels between Yagami and Kuwana, so. But like most of the story, I wasn't really feeling it as much as Judgment, because I don't know, Judgment just felt like this iconic ass game with this great story. You know, like Hamura like shows up out of nowhere, and you know what I mean, like there's so much lore, like there's so much depth, like each of these characters, like Higashi, Hamura, like your old man Genda, you know, he actually felt like a character in like the first game, but here he comes back and he does nothing. He does fuck all in like this game. Well, in the first game he was actually like doing stuff, and he actually had like some relevance to the plot. To be fair, I mean, this plot is mostly original, though. Like, okay, the one thing about this game is that it really does not treat the original cast members with like that much like to do, besides like Kaito and maybe I forgot that dude's name with the mask. They give him something to do. But like Higashi, he has a few throwaway lines here and there. Hoshino, he kind of gets kicked at the curb. Sayori, she does stuff in this game. Like, you know, I mean, not that much, but she does stuff in this game. Mafuyu, she's fucking doing nothing in this game. She shows up for like 2 chapters, and that's it. Which is weird, because like she's kind of like a direct parallel to Yagami. Like, even in their clothing, you see it. Like, she wears like white and black, and like Yagami, like she wears like a white coat, and then like underneath she has like a black shirt. Yagami, he wears like a black coat, and he wears like a white shirt. Now Yagami's drip is pretty goofy, but it actually has some like symbolism to it, which is like, yo, what? Like, they did think about his clothing when they were making him. I mean, his style still looks a little goofy, but like there is some importance to it, you know, like some symbolic importance. Also, that skill up review, I hated that part where he said like, oh, I hate Yagami because there's no good memes about it. He's like saying something about the lines of, oh, Yagami is not a good protagonist because he doesn't have any humor, and it's just like the dude was cracking jokes like in the first 20 minutes you see him in this game. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm telling you, most of the stuff he talks about, he just like fucking memes. You gonna justify like why you think a character is bad? Because I don't see any good memes about it. He's like, oh, I type in Majima memes and they show up, but like if I type in Yagami memes, like they don't show up. Like fucking Death Note. Have you heard of Death Note? Like no wonder like fucking Yagami memes from like this game don't show up. But I think Death Note's the most popular shit ever. Of course that's gonna show up first. Like man, get the fuck out of here. Like I mean, I agree with him on like the detective and stealth like sucking ass, but like it's like he's ignoring like everything else about the game. Or he's just not that into it like I am. Like, it's just a really bad review. I'm just gonna be frank. But yeah, like this game's story, like, I mean, I don't know, one cool thing is that we're still dealing with systemic issues and all that. And also, the main villains of these games, well, to be fair, I mean, the villain in this game is more of an anti-hero and all that, even though the dude's just straight up killing kids. I mean, for, I guess, a somewhat justifiable reason. I mean, if you want to agree with him or not. Oh yeah, the music playing in this fight, awesome. You know what's not awesome about this fight? This dude is copying Rikiya's moveset from Yakuza 3, and Rikiya's moveset is such fucking ass. It sucks so much fucking shit and come and fuck off. Like, it was a pain in the ass to deal with in Yakuza 3, and it's a pain in the ass to deal with every single game that copies it. He was a pain in the ass to deal with in like Yakuza 0, he was a pain in the ass to deal with in like the first Judgment, he's a pain in the ass to deal with in this game. He is never fun to fight. Fuck off with copying like Rikiya's moveset. Oh yeah, he was not fun to fight in Kiwami 1 either. Fuck off. But yeah, as I was saying, so these game stories tend to deal with systemic issues, and I think it'd be really cool for Judgment 3 if they dealt with racism. Now, I have a bit of a pitch for what they could do with this idea, and it involves time travel. So, pretty much, like, I think the main villain, I think he should be using time travel to kind of, so I think there's gonna be a big plot twist in Judgment 3 where it turns out that because of time travel, like, they're not exactly living in the real world. So, like, events which happened, like, you know, a couple years back, they wouldn't have happened right now. So, you know, they live like in a slightly altered reality. They also kind of justify like why things went so bad in the first Judgment game. Oh, it was because of time travel. Okay, cool. So I think the main motivation of the villain in Judgment 3 is I think he really needs to kill like racist white people. That's I think that should be his motivation. Then Yakuza's gonna be like, stop, you can't kill people. And then he's like, no, I have to. Like, I know they're racist. I went back in time. I know they're gonna be racist. Like, you can't change it. We have to kill them. Society will be better for it. That'll be the moral argument of the game. Like how this game, you know, these bullies, like, they drove someone to suicide and don't feel any remorse about it. It's like, you can't change them. Oh, we have to kill them. And Yakuza's like, no, you can't do that. And I think in one part in Judgment 3, he's gonna go, what about Sawa-san, huh? Like Sawa Sensei. Okay, I think one thing I did not like about Judgment, like Lost Judgment, is that Yagami just keeps going, yo, did you remember Sawa Sensei? You remember Sawa Sensei? He just keeps repeating that over and over. I get it's a dramatic thing, but like it got irritating. He says it too much. Alright, so this game has this new enemy type called the couch enemies, and they're just straight up walking around. In previous games, they would be like stuck to like one, like they'll kind of be like doors to progression, but now they're moving around. And I was kind of like, oh my god, these enemies are gonna be a huge pain in the ass. But then I realized using the snake grab, you can disarm them. What? That's awesome. Like, I mean, one enemy which I thought would be a huge pain in the ass now is like cool as hell. I'm telling you, this game's conference has so much going on for it. Anyways, back to my story pitch. So I think one moment that should be really important is that I think we're going to involve America into this story, because racism is a worldwide issue in terms like America. I mean, to be fair, I think that's pretty racist to say, to kind of just say it all starts with America. I mean, you know, that's like, I guess that's a big issue people have, like, oh, everything's about America, you know, what about every single other place in the world? But you know, whatever, just, you know, roll with me on this one. So like, I think Yagami should go to America. If they're going to meet Kaoru there, it'd be really fun. And then there's going to come a point where, because they're in a warped time period, some announcements or like some like, big events which have happened before haven't happened yet. So Yagami, he's not like, it's going to be a bit of an alternate reality type thing, but Yagami's going to come across this one announcement from Joe Biden. He's going to go on the big screen, and he's going to say, if you do not vote for me, you are not black. And then Yagami, like, and the villain are both there. Yagami, he's like, he's going to do his iconic Yagami scream. He's going to be like, I don't think that was very similar to Yagami, but, you know, pretend it was. So, you know, and it's going to be like, rage. Like the villain's final plan is that he wants to kill Joe Biden. And then like Yagami's gonna be like, wait, if you want to kill Joe Biden, why don't you want to kill Trump? And then like the main villain's gonna be like, oh, Trump's not relevant anymore. He got kicked off Twitter. And Yagami's like, wait, why do you care about relevancy? And he's like, I have to kill the ones which matter like the most in the public metaverse. Because like the people have to know, like we need to change the system. And like Yagami's like, you can't kill people though. And like this is how the final boss fight's gonna start. And then Kaito's gonna be like, Yagami, I don't think both of you are wrong. I think you both have a point. Like really consider, is there a right answer here? I think the final dilemma of the game isn't that the main villain is going to kill Joe Biden. I think the main dilemma is going to be that he's going to kill a white baby because like he knows it's going to be racist because he like time traveled back in time and saw like how it would go about. And Yagami's like, wait, why don't we change fate? It's like, oh, actually you can't change fate because some arbitrary rules. Like, okay, this was all just an elaborate excuse to mention Joe Biden video. So I hope that was enough to warrant this. I hope you were all excited to hear me mention Joe Biden in this video, though I guess I'm only going to mention him once. So for this Soma fight here, the first fight, it's like there's like this huge group and it's like, oh, do you have to fight the huge group? Not really. All you have to do is pretty much like lower Soma's health bar to like a certain point, and then it'll transition to this third part where you get a nice little save point before this third part. And I did save and I reloaded, as you can see with the cut there. And yeah, this intro is really cool. Honestly, this era is just kind of, it's pretty nostalgic for me. I've seen like I've been around these type of workspaces, like these cold ass factories, like these big doors. It's such a cool setting for like this icy cold killer like Soma. Like, it's such a great setting for a fight, I'm telling you. Whew, yeah. Actually, I'd like to make a couple more additions to my Yakuza racism fanfiction. So the additions I like to make is Adachi is present, and Saiko is there. She kills puppies, and there are 5G towers, which turn people into dogs. So that's pretty much all part of the same universe. I just wanted to mention that. So yeah, this final Soma fight, this dude has so much health, and honestly, I kind of wanted to get more combos in on him, but this dude keeps parrying my ass, so like I don't really get the chance to do so. I mean, I'm going to land one cool combo, and then that's it. All the other times is going to be like me landing heat actions on him, like doing cool stuff like that, or doing cool stuff like screwing around with him when he activates like the little parry state. Like, I mean, I could have done this fight better. However, this fight is also long as hell, and also I'm kind of stressed out, and I want to finish the video now. So, I mean, this is as good as it's gonna get, okay? I'm tired. I want to be done with this game, please. And the funny thing about me saying that is that I'm gonna go back and play more of this game, though at the very least I'm not gonna be in this rush to get a no damage video. I don't know, I kind of made this game a little less enjoyable because like my first playthrough was on hard, but I was kind of like, I want to do these fights on legend, but I don't want to do the side content on hard and then have to redo it on legend. So for my first run through on hard, I just mainlined the entire like main story and then none of the side content, and that just isn't fun with Yakuza. Like Yakuza is at its most enjoyable when you're like, doing the main story and then you spend a huge chunk of time with the side content, and then like, you'll do the main story every now and then there'll come a point where the main story starts picking up in pace, and you just want to beeline the rest of it like at the very end after doing like a bunch of side content before it. Like that's when Yakuza is at its most fun and like cool, and I did not do that for my first playthrough, so it's just like I kind of felt a little bit scammed. But while I was playing Legend, I haven't done all the side content yet. I've done like a bit of the school stories, and that's really about it, but like it's been so much fun like doing that stuff. Like the school story stuff may be the second coming of like how good the side content was in Yakuza 5. Like, it just feels kind of like that same like style of side content, but like it's easier to access, like it flows better, and just like it might be better than 5's, but I haven't done everything in like Lost Judgment yet, so like I mean I don't really know how to fully judge it, but I've been loving it, like the school story stuff so far. I mean I haven't done all of it, so it's like I just really love like what this game is doing with like the school story stuff. It feels very much like the side business stuff in Yakuza 5. So now I'm going to mention a couple. So yeah, I mean, when I come back to replay this game, I'm just gonna be playing it for that. And it's like nice. I'm gonna be having fun. I'm gonna be having a good time. So yeah, I'm just gonna mention some more unrelated stuff. So if you're juggling an enemy and it transitions to a QTE while you're juggling the enemy, you'll actually deal less damage during that QTE. So yeah, this game has a system where if you spend too long juggling an enemy, like, you know, it's very cool, but you deal less damage as you go along. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what, like, you know, modifies this. I don't know if you deal less damage every time you switch a style, or if you deal less damage just the longer an enemy is in the air. I don't know, like, how it works, but like it works, you know. So you don't, like, you know, so like the game isn't broken when you're juggling. So, like, you know, juggling is a very fun thing to do, and it's a great way to get some combos out, but it isn't broken per se. Oh yeah, by the way, for these boss fights, I do have my attack at level 2. I have some, you know, attack restricting items, which I, you know, pretty much put like a negative 45 on my attack. And I have the tiger art for these boss fights just so I can get better combos, better juggle combos. It doesn't really work much for this fight because, I don't know, Soma, not only does he like do the parry state a lot of time, his gravity is off. He keeps sinking to the ground like a pile of ice. The two fact is a pile of ice would just melt, so, you know, just kind of pretend I said a better metaphor. So, like, I'm just telling you, like, I mean, he spends too much time parrying me and too much time, like, not letting me, like, not gravity not, like, working, you know? I mean, okay, maybe it's that gravity works too well for this guy. That's the issue. You're too realistic. Stop it. So, yeah, let me talk about something else. So, okay, I already mentioned that. Alright, so there comes a moment where, like, Kuwana, like, blows up this boat, and, like, this, he gave, like, this image to Yagami, like, this little, like, necklace or something, and when he blows up the boat, that image gets cracked. I think it's a really nice metaphor for how, like, his fucked up methods kind of undermine his good intentions, kind of like Kuwana. You know, like, I mean, no matter, like, how good his intentions are, you know, like, the nice photo he has, like, if he keeps, like, going at it with the way he's doing it right now, like, his methods of just straight up killing kids, he's gonna end up, like, cracking the photo. He's gonna fuck something up in the process. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, you could probably judge that metaphor a variety of different ways, but I mean, that's just one way I look at it. I think it's really nice. And a really nice, like, little, I don't think it's a metaphor. I think it's symbolism? Symbolism metaphor? It's one of those, yeah. So, okay, I already mentioned the thing about the drone. Okay, so here's one thing, which is pretty funny. So, for the dancing school story, if you fail one of the dancing mini games, you die. Like, when you fail it, it just says game over. And the only time it says game over is when you fucking die. So if you, like, don't dance good enough, you fucking die. So I thought that was really funny. And, like, another thing I really love about the school story stuff is, honestly, just the school itself. Like, I don't know, like, I'm just learning. Like, I mean, when you first enter that school, you're, like, so confused on where to go. Like, what the hell am I doing here? You know what other games made me feel like that? I mean, the Persona games. I don't know, like Persona 3, 4, 5. Like, you start the game off, you're just, like, in the school setting. You're completely lost. Like, where the hell do I go? What do I do? But then after spending hours and hours of time in those games, like, you like learn the layout, and it just becomes like a second home at some point. And like, I love that process of, like, just become, like, things kind of become routine, but, like, in a fun way. And, like, Lost Judgment's, like, school setting kind of has that same vibe. I mean, to be fair, I guess, like, the Yakuza series has kind of been leading more into, like, some of the stuff which made, like, Persona, like, pretty appealing. I don't know, maybe with Yakuza 7, since that was a turn-based JRPG. I mean, to be fair, a lot of people, like, kind of scoffed at, like, people comparing, like, Yakuza 7 and, like, Persona, just because Yakuza 7's, like, main inspiration was Dragon Quest, but it was definitely taking inspiration from Persona. Like, the social links is definitely, like, a big one. And now here in Lost Judgment, we kind of, I don't know, I mean, kind of, it's taking some inspiration from Persona, but its main gameplay loop, even in the side content, is very much decidedly Yakuza, and I do enjoy Yakuza's, like, gameplay loop more than Persona's. So it's nice to see, like, those kind of systems return in, like, this game. Pretty much what I'm saying is I kind of liked it that the more I play, like, the school story stuff, the more familiar I get with the school, where I actually, like, kind of learn where everything is, or I'm not really confused on where to go. I actually, like, learn which stuff is. And I love the way I end this fight. I do a little, like, crane, like, flip, and then I do, like, a heavy charge attack, and then boom, QTE, baby, let's go. And the hardest QTEs in this game is definitely Tetsuo's. Like, second Tetsuo's, like, QTE is the hardest. This game barely has QTEs, and when it does, they suck, because it's a stupid fucking system with the directional buttons and, like, combinations. Like, I hope this is one of those things which Yakuza never brings back. Like, I don't know, Yakuza sometimes, like, in its spin-off, it does, like, experimental stuff. Like, I don't know, in Kenzin, it had, like, an experimental upgrade system that never got brought over. In Ishin, like, it had the experiment of sometimes when you try to do a QTE, like, you'll get interrupted by the enemy trying to do their own QTE, you know, and, like, some of those things don't come back. Some of those things are neat, and, like, some of those things, like the QTE system in this game, sucks, and I just wish it never comes back. Go back to the original system with just the one button. Like, I mean, Yakuza 7 didn't really have any, and I was kind of sad to not see any QTEs in that game until, like, the very, very end. So just bring that back. It was fine. It was fine how it was. It was fine how it was, alright? Just bring that back. But yeah, so I'm gonna continue gushing about the school stories, if that's alright. So for the dance club thing, you reach a point where you need a higher level of appeal. It's kind of like one of your stats. So I was like, okay, what do you do? Well, if you can do the robotic stuff for now, but once you're done doing the robotic stuff, you unlock the skateboarding thing. And doing the skateboarding thing now, that increases your appeal. Like, they're all connected like that. I love that. I love that stuff. I love that design. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about that and talk about this awesome final boss. I mean, I was kind of iffy on this character, maybe like some of the story setup, but oh, this fight! Look at the way they clash together, like the music, all this. So apparently, like this final boss theme is composed by the same person who composed like Ishin's final boss theme, and Ishin's final boss theme is like my favorite in the series. And now this one's awesome too. I love it. This, like, I don't know where I would rank this final boss theme. But like, oh my, I don't even know where I would rank this final boss fight. But this final boss fight is sick. Like, this may be the best final boss fight that this series is crafted, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm so conflicted on it. And yeah, like, this fight took me like 11 or 12 hours to get down right, and it was such a struggle. Though I will say, like, my boys Flame and Pius Lee like telling me like I did a good job on it. Like, yo, I succeeded on something. I love the way when I counter this guy, I destroy those barrels when I slam Kuwana down to the ground. Like, it's such an intense fight. And to be fair, the only thing which I don't like about it is just like the RNG elements. Like, sometimes when you're trying to juggle like Kuwana here, he sinks down to the ground like way too fast for no reason. One like justifiable reason why some enemies sink down to the ground is because if they need to activate like their heat mode per se, like they'll sink down to the ground to do that, and that's fine. But sometimes enemies will just sink down to the ground for no reason. And the way I handle this phase, like I do like a heat action with like the parry, and then do a heat action with like the boxing thing where like I make the enemy afraid of me. I do that heat action, and then once I'm done with that heat action, hopefully I'm on the purple health bar, because then I'll just do like these heavy attacks with like the boxing style, which for the most part like Kuwana like will fail to block or like counter attack like for most of the time. I mean, there'll come a point, you can't do that infinitely. Like, there'll come a point where Kuwana, like your like speed upgrade will go away, and you will be too slow to make Kuwana like constantly stun lock. But for the most part, if you have like high speed, you can stun lock Kuwana kind of for a very long time with those like this attack right there. And like I kind of start this fight off here, and then once like I'm too slow to continue it, I go to crane, I do this heat action, like the flow. I have to be constant aggression, go, and it's very hard to do this attempt. Oh my goodness. 11, 12 hours, a whole ass day on just this fight alone. It was kind of like draining my soul. It was draining my sanity. But once I was done, like, oh my goodness, like if he does that and he does like the snake's shoulder bash, like I'm tired just talking about it. I'm tired. Oh, I'm tired. Yeah. But I want to talk more about this game's combat system, because there was something really, really, really cool I wanted to mention. Like, like, look at that. This dude just went straight down to the ground for no reason. What was up with that? Like, there was something I really wanted to mention. Oh, yeah. So, like, this game's, like, I be telling you, like, they added so much to this game's combat to make it so unique. And one of the things I really love is that when you go into like the extreme heat mode, your grabs are different. Like if you try to do a crane grab, like Yagami would do this like sick ass thing with his legs. If you try to do like a tiger grab while in extreme heat mode, he does like this weird like counter grab. Like, and even the grabs you do between styles are different, each and every one of them. Now the boxing style doesn't have a grab. That's one difference. When it like with Snake, Tiger, Crane, each grab is different. Like, I mean, that's just something which didn't happen in the previous game. It's just like it unifies these like separate like styles together in such a nice, fun way. I'm telling you, this combat is so good. Like the combat, the worlds, like this is a top tier Yakuza game. Now, I feel really tempted to like call it the best, but I don't know if it's really the best. I'm really struggling on whether this is better than Yakuza 0 or not, because like this game does a lot much better than like Yakuza 0 or 5. But then like Yakuza 0 and 5 have things which they do better than this game. I don't know. This doesn't feel like the complete Yakuza game yet, because I don't know. It has like these weird things. Like sometimes like the stealth gets in the way, it drags things down. Sometimes like there's not enough long battles, that drags things down. Sometimes there's too many boss fights, you're just kind of like fighting random goons, like that drags things down a bit. But then like everything else is like the best thing in like the best stuff in the series, and the best execution of that stuff like so far. This is really a great game. It really is. Oh, like if it's not the best, it is top 3. It's either the third best, the second best, or the best game in the series. It is definitely much better than Ishin, I will say that. Like better content, better combat, just like I'm telling you, we're dealing with that level of game. And it kind of feels weird to say that this is the third best, because like I mean I rank Judgment like much lower, though I prefer the story in Judgment a lot more than I do like in Lost Judgment here. And I don't even know if like, But like, really, Lost Judgment, the side content improved from like Judgment, the boss fights improved from Judgment, like the combat improved from Judgment, like everything is improved from Judgment, and it's also an improvement on this entire like franchise as a whole. It's just it's great, it's wonderful, it's brilliant. So it's got to be top three Yakuza game, one of the best, easily the best Dragon Engine game so far. And then, there was a moment in time where I was like kind of struggling with my thoughts on Lost Judgment. Like, I'm like, maybe 7's better. No, it isn't. I mean, I still really like 7. I mean, I made a whole ass video on Roblox 7 just to kind of pad out the time to wait for the boxing style to come out. But it's so good. I love the way the music syncs up here. Listen to this. The sync up is perfect, I think. Did that not sound like a perfect, like, kind of transitional period? Does that not sound like just a nice, like, transition from, like, the second phase of the song to the ending of the song? Is that not perfect? It was so good. So yeah, here's the Amon fight. It's a massive gimmick, and yeah, I'm doing the Gauntlet version because I cannot be asked to do all the side content right now. Like, if I did all the side content to reach Amon, believe me, this video would not come out for another, like, 1, 2, or 3 weeks, and I think y'all are kind of tired of waiting, so just settle for the Gauntlet Amon. I'll do the side quest Amon, when I do like all my Amon's no damage video. When is that video coming out? Not soon, but it is an idea I kind of want to do. It'll be mostly like filled with like kind of my old footage, but I'm gonna redo some of the fights. I'm gonna redo like Kenzen's. I haven't done Ishin's yet, so I will do Ishin's. I'll probably like redo maybe the Kiwami 1 Amon. I mean, I'll redo quite a few. I'll redo like the Kiwami 2 Amon, definitely. It'll be like some redone stuff, some old stuff, and it'll be new commentary. So that'll probably be enough to make that video worth it. So yeah, that's just one video I had in mind for like the upcoming future, the unforeseeable, unknown future. And I have promised things which have not come out yet, like that Kanye West video. That Kanye West video, it stresses me out, and I do want to make it. I'll make it at some point. Don't worry about that. And now I'm going to mention some stuff about this game, some fun facts. Let's just call them that. Oh yeah, the strategy for this fight. I haven't even mentioned that. So pretty much parry with like pretty much like go to Crane, get the speed boost from Crane, then start parrying with like a Snake. There's a certain like pattern to like parry this guy, and you just kind of need to get a feel for it, just kind of practice. And then once you parry with Snake, kind of do that flux fixture thing, and keep doing that until you reach like the purple health bar. But don't like eliminate the purple health bar too much until you like when there comes a point in the purple health bar where I stop doing like those like flux fixture attacks and instead rely on doing I instead just keep parrying with Snake and taunting to build up my heat mode until it's like at the maximum. And then once like my heat bar is like at the maximum, I do another flux fixture attack, and then he starts throwing out those lasers, but he's not into his second phase yet. He's only like getting there. So then once he's like past that whole second phase thing, I'm going to activate heat mode. I'm going to run at him with like tiger stance. It needs to be tiger. It needs to be the tiger fighting style. I'm going to do like the run up attack. I'm going to do bam, and I'm going to immediately do like a tiger combo, like the special heat action tiger combo. I'm going to combo him a whole bunch. I'm going to land that heat action. If I don't land that heat action, this fight is fucked. So then I'm going to land that heat action. Then once I do that, it's pretty much just a scramble to do as many different heat actions as possible. And like that fight has so many different variables to it, because sometimes like his styles are different. Like depending on the style he has, if you switch to a certain style, do a heat action with a certain style, you'll deal more damage, kind of like the previous game, Amon. Though to be fair, overall, I think this game, Amon, kind of sucks dick. I mean, in the Gauntlet, you're so overpowered that you just rely on heat actions, though I guess normally, like, with Attack 2, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Pius Lee did a really great no damage of like Juzo Amon, but like this fight, it is nothing. It does not compare to the original like Judgment Amon. Like that Amon was awesome. This Amon, not so much. So yeah, that ends my video. And like, I mean, there's so much more stuff I want to talk about. It's been like an hour, like nearly 40 so far, but there's still more I need to talk about, but I'm not gonna talk about it. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and my commentary, and I will see you all then for whatever projects I make in the future.